Hello everyone, welcome back to the dannphan channel, and yes, we are doing more manga reviews. This one is one that you may have seen on Shonen Jump at some point, maybe on the Viz Manga app, and that's where I found it. And some of you, I would be willing to bet, have never even heard of it. We are reviewing Black Torch. And this is kind of an old one as well. It's understandable if you've never heard of it. Black Torch follows the main character, Jiro, who was raised by his grandpa that happens to teach him his ancestral shinobi fighting techniques. You know, of course, their ancestors were ninjas. I wonder how that will become important later. One day, Jiro finds an injured cat in the woods and nurses him back to health, only to find out that this is no ordinary cat. No, not any cat is ever normal in anime. It's actually a Mononoke named Rago. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Mononoke in this manga series are kind of like deities that take on the form of humans, animals, sometimes straight up monsters, demon-like creatures. The reason why Rago was injured is because he was beat up by a group of Mononoke who want to recruit him into an army against humanity because they really want Rago's power, basically. After saying his thanks to Jiro for saving him when he was all beat up, Rago attempts to make his leave, but as he's leaving, of course, he's approached by another Mononoke trying to recruit him, this time by force. Jiro actually ends up stepping in to save Rago, despite the fact that he probably didn't really need to step in. It's just kind of his personality that he wants to be helpful, and he ends up to be fatally wounded during the fight because, you know, he's human. So Rago, being so thankful and moved by Jiro, decides to save his life by fusing together with him. And with both their spirits fighting together, they're able to win the fight. Yay! However, the fusing process cannot be undone. They're stuck together, and as it turns out, what they did was super taboo. So taboo that when his grandfather finds out, he threatens to kill Jiro and then himself to save their family honor. You'd think that kind or nice Mononoke are unheard of with the way that his grandfather reacted. But later on in the series, you see, like, his grandfather knows other friendly Mononoke. So is he just a psycho? Like, what was with this reaction? Like, I have to kill you because you literally fused with a demon creature. Regardless, Jiro ends up being recruited by a government branch that specializes in fighting Mononoke, hence the super sick outfits that you see them in. And that's where our story begins. This is our introduction into the series of Black Torch, their specific branch that involves Jiro and two other, you know, side characters that are also part of the like special unit that they refer to as Black Torch. So let's be honest, this manga has a pretty sloppy opening. We aren't given much time to really know Jiro that well. And the premise of fusing with a demon to gain power to fight other demons, I mean, it's not a bad premise, but it is a little bit generic. I think we can admit that much. In the world of manga, there are a lot of people who have taken this same premise and ran with it their own way. You might pick this up and wonder, what are they going to do differently that I haven't seen here before? I can say, the one unique trait of this character, Jiro, is that he can talk to animals. You see, I didn't mention this before, because it doesn't matter. It's a completely unnecessary ability that serves no purpose to the story. Even the mangaka kind of like struggles to bring it up every now and then because they can't find a place to actually incorporate that trait anywhere in the writing. If humans can understand Mononoke, and 2 out of 3 of the animals he talks to turned out to be Mononoke, why does it matter he can talk to animals? It's not insignificant enough for me to pass it off as just something to make the character unique, because it is kind of a superpower. It's just a completely unnecessary superpower. I can tell the mangaka dove like head first in this series without really thinking too much ahead. But all that being said, Black Torch is not completely irredeemable. The art is fucking killer. You can tell he's got a lot of talent for action manga, which is one of the main reasons I pushed myself to keep reading. And sure enough, like roughly halfway through the series, it started to stand out as more of its own thing. It set up some backstory for the Mononoke, some good motivations for the side characters, and even introduced a main villain who I genuinely thought was pretty interesting. It's not normally how I view, like, villains in anime and manga. Sometimes they're just kind of generic, I've seen this all before type thing. It seems like just when I finally found myself enjoying Black Torch, it was gone. Cancelled at only 19 chapters. Why? I can only speculate based on stories I've heard online, but it sounds pretty simple. The readership dropped on this manga really hard after that sloppy opening. People weren't willing to stick around to read it when it finally started getting good. But even at its best, I think the main character is a critical flaw in this series, given that they never really give him an end goal or any particular motivation, like they do with the other characters. The other characters have something that they're striving towards. Jiro is just like, I want to become stronger to protect my friends, and that's just so... like, what happened? Do you have a reason? Is there any reason why joining Black Torch is the way to do that? Wait, what's your end goal? What's your motivation? What are you striving to be? Do you want to, like, take control of Black Torch? Do you want to be, like, an upper dog? He's just got nothing. It almost makes it seem pointless to even watch him go on this journey. Black Torch did pick up a lot more steam after it was released in America. I saw a lot of people doing reviews, but by the time it came out here, it was already being cancelled in Japan. So it didn't really matter that it picked up any steam over here. I would imagine the only reason why it did pick up steam here is because, like, everything was being released at once, and people binge read it. Unfortunately for Japan, they're not binge reading. They're reading it chapter by chapter by chapter, usually. Or at the very least, volume by volume. So the mangaka had to wrap up what he could, and it ended at 19 chapters. The work does suffer from it being cut off short. Unfortunately, I didn't find the ending fight to be particularly satisfying as a one-on-one fight. It's kind of hard to imagine the villain would lose when he was built up as being much more powerful than Jiro and Rago. It's like, why are they much more powerful now? It's kind of hard to give that sense of progression when the manga series itself ends so shorter than it was supposed to be. I do find it to be an interesting case study when it comes to writing, though. It goes to show you two very important lessons when it comes to conceptualizing your series. Stuff that you should figure out before you actually go forward with publishing it. The first is you need to make sure the opening to your series has a lot of thought put into it, successfully hooks an audience. Some people don't really think about it that much, but when you're putting out, like, for example, your first volume of a series, there are 2 chapters that need to be better than any of the other chapters, right? The first chapter needs to be the best, and then the last chapter, usually, chapter 4 or 5, based on how they split apart everything, that needs to maybe not be as good as chapter 1, but it's gotta leave the audience wanting more so that they stick around for the second volume. You really got to make that first chapter a banger so that people have their attention on this series, hooked them on, you made them into a liker to a lover by the time you get to the last chapter of the volume, then you just keep on pumping it, Second, and this kind of goes back to the whole, figure this out before you publish it, but your main character needs to have some sort of end goal in mind. Some sort of motivation that will drive the story and give them opportunity for development, so that they can change throughout the series, so that the audience can be there and be rooting for them as they're going on their journey. That's what hooks a lot of audience intrigue into the series itself. You can't just rush into something without a clear plan of action. You can't rely on tropes to hold your story together. This is your story. You need to make it uniquely yours. There's definitely a lot of manga out there that just, are relying on these same old tropes, these same old things that have sold before. They mash it up into their story, even though what they really have is not a unique story. What they have is unique concepts, and they don't really figure it out until later on, which is why you should hold off on just, head first, I gotta publish this now, I gotta succeed now, you know? There's nothing wrong with being like thirsty for success, but you gotta be ready for it. Regardless, for the most part, I enjoyed this series, but it makes sense why it was canceled, and I don't think we'll see it come back anytime soon. The artist is still great, and they're doing other works. Though I haven't personally read the other works that they've done, I'm willing to bet that they've probably learned and grown a lot as a writer going forward, doing different series. So I'd be willing to check out their newer stuff, see if they've, you know, kind of learned from their past mistakes and put everything together. Even as a cut short, canceled series, I still kind of enjoyed it for what it was. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with a series and it gets canceled anyway. That's another thing to consider. Just because it's not retaining an audience for whatever reason. Maybe they're just busy reading other stuff. But definitely let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Have you read Black Torch? Were you upset when it was canceled? Did you expect it to be canceled? If you did enjoy my little video breakdown of it, remember to like the video, of course. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of these types of videos. And for those of you who don't know, I do make my own comics, which you can check out at burningstarcomics.net. My newest comic is a comedy one-shot called It's Not Like Getting a Job Will Kill You. If you're into comedy or if you just need a nice wholesome laugh, I would recommend checking it out. There will be a link in the description and in the comments. And if you'd like to get full-on updates or sneak peeks of any new comics that I'll be coming out with on Burning Star Comics, definitely join the fan club because I will be posting a lot of stuff there. And you'll get a nice shout out at the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Program restart.